You're listening to Dude Check This Out, episode 17! Hello everybody and welcome to Dude Check This Out, the podcast where we talk about interesting things.
So interesting.
That's our catchphrase.
Yes.
It's always been, always will be, across multiple timelines and multiple places and Earths and cool universes.
I literally cannot remember a time that wasn't our catchphrase.
Yep, we thought of it together. Mm-hmm. I didn't just drop it right now. Of course not. I'm Kevin.
Who would do such a thing? I'm Noah.
Yep, and we are the hosts of this podcast. I am sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
And Noah is not sitting on the ground. He's standing up.
I prefer to stand.
He looks very tall from where I am.
What a time to be alive. What a turn of fate.
I am the short one now. It's me. It's me!
That's also our catchphrase here.
That is also,
That's
it's her.
Also actually our catchphrase.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Pat.
I love you, Pat. Love you, Pat. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a time we brought up Pat and haven't whispered sweet nothings to him.
It's Pat's thing.
Is that Pat's thing?
It's Pat's thing for us to do to him.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. All right. This is welcome to Dude Check This Out. We're going to be talking about some cool stuff. Noah, how you been?
Doing all right.
Yeah, 2 weeks have come and gone.
Yeah.
And has anything new and interesting popped up in your crazy, crazy life?
Not especially, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of still, doing my thing.
I feel that.
They say.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I shouldn't say that, but...
Are you not one of them?
No, that came out of my mouth and I was just like, God, why'd I say that? It's a dumb thing to say, but I don't know. Hanging out, playing Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
After you finish Bioshock Infinte, which we're going to talk about
Bioshock
spoilers.
Infinte. Yeah, exactly. Ooh, early title card.
Yeah.
After I played Bioshock Infinite, I was like, I'm in the mood to play some dated games. So I decided I was in the mood for something open world.
Gotcha.
And then I looked at my Steam library. And Assassin's
in
Creed starts with the letter A. So I was like, hey, I played the original Assassin's Creed and literally none of the others. Let's try playing Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah, might as well. Did you actually get all the way through the first Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
Because I got about, I think, 60%, and it was like, all right, time to do the exact same thing again. And I was like, okay, I'm checking out. Bye, game.
That game was definitely a proof of concept. And Assassin's Creed definitely fixes that issue of, because I remember in the original Assassin's Creed, it was like you had story missions and you had side missions, but they gated your progress to the story missions by having you do like 3 or 4 side missions before you could access the next story mission. So that's why it was very, very repetitive and terrible. Yeah. In Assassin's Creed 2, they changed that to where you can just mainline the story if you want. The side stuff is there if you want to interact with it. Cool. And every open world game since then has adopted that strategy because that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah. From what I understand,
that's good.
Assassin's Creed 2 is where the series got good.
And then what, 4 or 5 is where it gets bad?
So I think
there's like 8 of those games.
2 is like
there?
where it got good.
Mm-hmm.
Brotherhood is what everyone like kind of holds as like the pinnacle of the series.
Yeah. Revelations
was 3. I've heard very mixed things about. People either love 3 or people like hate 3. Like there are people who will tell you that 3 is the absolute worst game in the series.
Yeah.
And then 4 had pirates.
Pirates are fine.
Unity was broken.
Yes, it was. And there's also there was that Native American one, right? Where you're like...
That was 3.
That was 3?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Shows how much I know about Assassin's Creed.
Well, there's also... They did a Vita called Liberation. It was like a side game for 3.
Mm-hmm. Assassin's Creed, man.
Assassin's Creed. Let's
cool
talk
stuff.
about it.
Yeah, it's not.
Except not this episode.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, in other news, my sister is going to have a little girl, and I'm going to be an uncle.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Club.
Yeah, right? We're both going to have nieces. We're actually at my parents' house right now in this very echoey room that used to be my room.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Because
my niece, because there's issues with recording the episode this week, because we were originally supposed to record it over at my place, and then I didn't realize that my niece was going to be staying over for the entire weekend.
Yep.
And we were going to record the episode exactly when her nap time was going to be. So that's probably not the best for two yelling idiots to be right next to the room where the baby's sleeping.
Hey, I take offense to that. I'm a shouting idiot. Okay, please. I would never yell. I'm a shouter.
Don't assume the way I say things with great volume.
Yeah, of course not. Please. All right, it's 2018. I can be a shouter if I want. I've also been working my way through The Witness. I'm almost done.
Nice.
I'm at the very end now. It took me this long since I know I started playing around, I think, last episode.
I mean, that's definitely a game you have to kind of keep take your time with.
Yeah, and keep constantly playing.
Yeah.
So I'm at the very end, and I think I'm going to recruit Christopher and just like strap him to a chair with me and be like, all right, here we go. We're going to play this game and try to get through it because it's really hard now.
Yeah.
I thought it was harder before, but it's like really, really hard now. So, but it's been super fun. I've really, really liked it. Anyone out there who wants to play The Witness, you should if you like puzzles or lines or pretty scenery, but mostly lines.
Or Jonathan Blow.
He's a cool guy. I saw the No Clip. I watched the No Clip with him.
Yeah.
It was pretty rad.
That was a good episode of those. Yeah, No Clip. Check it out. Danny O'Dwyer.
Yeah. Something else cool. It's on YouTube. That's where it's at.
Free content.
Yeah, it's cool. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let us get into Bioshock Infinite. That's what I gave Noah to play last time, and it's really rad. It is a video game, one of those video games.
That it is.
It was developed by Irrational Games, and they did the original Bioshock, but not Bioshock 2. And Ken Levine was the main guy.
The legend.
Yeah, he came up with the idea for Bioshock, and he was the lead creative designer in Bioshock Infinite.
The West Coast Kojima.
Is that what they call him?
That's what I call him.
That's a good name.
I mean, a lot of people do liken him to like as the American Kojima of like this guy who's kind of famed for being like an auteur of game development.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's rad. It's a first-person shooter that's very similar to Bioshock in the mechanics of you get powers and you can like shoot lightning, or you can raise guys up with Bucky and Bronco and then shoot them with lightning. You also have a gun, but it's more cool with all the. You used to be plasmids, now we're vigors, whatever. And where Bioshock 1 was very horror-esque, kind of like a little crawl where all the stuff is already blown up and you're like searching through the ruins. Bioshock Infinite is a swashbuckling murder party where you are the party and you're messing everything up for everybody else. It's super rad. And the story is really, really crazy, and we'll kind of get into that. But before we do any of that, Noah Stewart, I need your hot take.
My hot take.
Yes, please.
This game was interesting coming to it at this point because it's 2018. This game came out in 2013, and I played the original Bioshock, I think, around the time that this game came out.
Right.
Because, we were like 14 or something when the original Bioshock came out. I don't think I even had a PS3 at the time. The original, I hadn't gotten it yet. Yeah, it is a testament to the quality of this game that I had such a great time with it after, it's like 5 years old and has really kind of affected, game development going forward with kind of the stuff that it did, and a lot of developers kind of, picked up on its trends. But yeah, no, Bioshock Infinite, super great. Let's talk about it.
Great. Cool.
I mean, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would assist.
Perhaps you should ask him. I imagine he has a greater interest in getting there than I do.
I suppose he does. But there's no point in asking.
Why not?
Because he doesn't row.
He doesn't row?
No, he doesn't row.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Bioshock Infinite is rad. So I'm going to go a little bit through the plot, and I'm going to do my best to condense it down. A lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of interesting characters, a lot of cultural importance, maybe not in like our culture, but for in the game. A lot of big kind of talking points and a lot of cool stuff. But I'm going to do my best to just hit the highlights and go through the plot as is, and just chime in if I miss something or whatever.
Okay.
Cool. So the plot starts off with Booker DeWitt, a non-silent protagonist, which is nice for a change.
That.
Yeah. Booker DeWitt is on a boat with these two people, the Lutesses, a woman and a man, and he is going up to a lighthouse because he needs to find the girl and wipe away the debt.
And a lighthouse a la Bioshock 1.
Yes.
Very similar opening to Bioshock 1.
Yes. So you're going on, you get off the boat and you climb up this lighthouse. And when you get to the lighthouse, instead of going under the sea, you are rocketed into the sky, which is really cool.
It was a really great moment.
Yeah.
Especially the reveal. Yeah, once you get up there in the clouds, the reveal of Columbia
is awesome.
Pretty great.
And so you fly up into the sky where the city of Columbia floats over the clouds, and your goal is to find Elizabeth, who is the girl, and wipe away your debt.
Somewhere in this floating city.
So you go, as you get out of your pod and you go down, you are baptized into the city.
Yeah, that was a really creepy sequence.
Yeah. Where it's the only way into the city, and you are baptized in the name of the prophets, or in the name of the prophet, and in the name of the founders.
Yes.
And the
founders being the founding fathers of America.
Yes. So it turns out Columbia is run kind of in a theocracy. So religion, kind of the religious leaders rule the city, and is run by the prophet Zachary Hale Comstock, who is this big bearded dude who can see the future and has seen the future. And with his like kind of American religion run by George Washington and his sword, Benjamin Franklin and his key, and Thomas Jefferson and his scroll. And these are kind of the religious figures that run the city, that kind of everyone
kind of
praises.
The ideology of the city.
And so the prophet has also stated that Elizabeth, the lamb, who was, I think, immaculately conceived. I don't remember. No, she was only in the womb for like a week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She was in Lady Comstock's, his wife's, womb for a week, and then born as a baby, as a miracle from God. And she will drown the Sodom below in a sea of fire and sanctify it. That's kind of his big prophecy is, we got to protect the lamb, my daughter, because
the vision he saw.
Yeah, she's going to drown the earth beneath them, America, I guess, and then the rest of the world in a sea of fire. So Booker, as you come into this racist place, oh yeah, it's also racist.
Super racist.
Yeah, if you didn't catch that by all this going on, it's really, really racist.
Well, also, this takes place at like the turn of the century, like 1912 or something like that, right?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really ever...
Yeah, well, because Booker was a soldier during the Battle of Wounded Knee,
yes,
which is like in the late 1800s.
Yes, so yeah, I guess it's around the turn of the century.
Yeah.
So as you get up there, it's kind of like a weird futuristic 1912.
It's definitely
they're flying in the sky and they've got like robots and stuff.
It's definitely technology that's way more advanced than should be in the 1900s.
Yeah. But it's also like kind of like that Star Wars technology where they don't really have like the internet, or they don't really have phones, but they have kind of like, they can fly ships and stuff like that. So they have like fully mechanized robots in Bioshock Infinite, but they don't really have telephones, or they don't have TV. I guess they have TVs, but they're like old silent movies.
That's definitely in the 50s is the original Bioshock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Booker, as you come into Columbia, he bears the mark of the false shepherd, who Comstock has said will lead the lamb astray and bring destruction to Columbia.
Yeah, and it's like a branded like the letters AD on the back of his hand.
Yes. And so because whenever you see the false shepherd, you should kill him or prevent him from doing anything. So as Booker, now that everyone's coming to kill you, you fulfill the prophecy and start murdering everybody. So it's kind of that self-fulfilling prophecy kind of deal going on. But eventually, Booker makes his way to where Elizabeth is, the lamb in this giant angel statue, guarded by a giant mechanical bird, very similar to the Big Daddies
Yeah, very.
of Bioshock.
I remember
Same
seeing
kind
that a
of
lot during the like lead up hype to this game coming out.
Yeah, he's got the same kind of like underwater look and big tubes and that kind of stuff. But they escape, and as they attempt to escape from Columbia, they kind of run into a lot of different conflicts in Columbia that's going on. They try to escape onto the First Lady, which is kind of a big airship. And while trying to get there, they have to go and fight Cornelius Slate, who is a soldier. And he and Comstock are at odds because Comstock is taking all the credit for all the horrible stuff that Cornelius Slate and his soldiers have done.
Yeah.
Then they eventually run into the Vox Populi, led by Daisy Fitzroy, who are a group of black activists who believe that blacks and whites should be equal, or that Comstock should pay for what he's done as his oppression towards black people.
I think they're also just like kind of general like working class people.
Yes. Oh yeah, Irish people are another big one.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the Irish immigrants and stuff like that. Yeah, the Vox Populi are pretty fascinating, especially once you get into Finktown.
Yeah, and you have to go into Finktown, where Joseph Fink is kind of the lead industrialist of Columbia. You got to go in there to get weapons to provide to the Vox Populi. And eventually, you end up going and fighting Comstock himself. And when you find and defeat Comstock, the Vox Populi are now against you. And while all this is going on, Elizabeth, who is now your companion, and she also doesn't want to be captured by Comstock or just held in a tower, has discovered that she can open tears in the world. And what these tears are kind of portals to different Earths or alternate dimensions. And throughout the game, you will enter into 2 or 3 of these completely, which lead to a new world. So, for example, you need to find a gunsmith who is killed. But in another world, he never dies. And so you enter into one of these tears and enter into a new world where this gunsmith never died. And that happens a few times throughout the game as Elizabeth has the power to open these tears. As the game goes on, eventually you defeat Comstock, and you kind of get to the point where we're going to get into the big spoilers now, the kind of the crazy stuff that happens.
Oh, yeah.
At the very end of the game, you realize that Elizabeth kind of awakens, I guess. She fully understands the multiverse and how it works. And in doing so, she leads you through all the history of the game and where Booker DeWitt comes from. And Booker is from a different universe than Comstock is in this world, because there's this intersection in Booker's life where after Wounded Knee, where he was a soldier murdering and almost more or less just massacring the Native Americans, he wishes to cleanse himself, and he goes and he baptizes himself in the name of Jesus, and after that comes up as Comstock, and he chooses Zachary Hale Comstock as his Christian name, and because in that moment it sets him on a path to become Comstock, which creates Columbia and then eventually, will destroy the world. Or in other timelines, Booker DeWitt refuses to take the baptism and stays as Booker. And so at that intersection kind of creates these 2 big paths, and Booker is Comstock from another dimension.
That's the huge, big reveal.
Yeah, that you're the big bad guy is you the whole time.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth, as Comstock was messing with kind of the portal technology, he becomes sterile and can't have kids. And because that, he goes to another world where Booker is, where Booker can have kids. And Booker, who is in a bunch of debt because he's depressed and kind of going crazy from the guilt of Wounded Knee, he sells his daughter, Anna DeWitt, A.D., to Comstock.
Yeah.
And Comstock...
Because the Lutesses, come to him and offer the deal of give us the girl and wipe away the debt.
Yes. And so Comstock takes Anna, who becomes Elizabeth, And so that's your daughter, and it's also Comstock's daughter, but not actually, because she's from another dimension and all this crazy stuff. And the reason she can do the tears is she lost a part of her pinky right when she was taken, and I guess because she existed in 2 different universes at the same time, or parts of her did, she has magic portal powers or something. It's kind of what I put together.
Yeah, I mean I think it's in one of the what do they call it? The voxophones, the like little voice recordings. They explained, the Lutessas explained that it's because you can only exist in one place, and she technically exists in 2 places, which gives her the ability to kind of traverse between the 2.
Yeah, and so at the very end, the only way to stop Comstock and to ensure that the future where Elizabeth burns the world below, which you get to go to at one point in the game, is to kill Comstock at the moment of his birth, which is at the baptism.
Yeah.
Because if you kill a Comstock, it doesn't matter. There's an infinite number of Comstocks. So you have to kill kind of Comstock at the point of his birth, at the point of inception. And so at the game ends with like 6 or 8 Elizabeths drowning Booker DeWitt in the lake, or in like kind of the pond where he is baptized and becomes Comstock. That's the game. It's kind of the plot. It's pretty crazy. I don't know if that was easy to follow.
Yeah, it's definitely, after I played it, it definitely required a lot of kind of contemplation and looking stuff up on the internet, going like, oh, what do these people think happened? And so.
But it's super rad. If you haven't played the game, and I just spoiled it for you, go play the game and you'll still get a whole lot out of it, even if you know all this stuff. Because I just played through it again, even though I had already beaten it. And knowing going into it opens up a lot of cool interactions, and kind of you get to see things that you didn't the first time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely want to play, not immediately, but play it again to kind of with that context. Because I'm really glad that I was able to kind of go into this without any big spoilers, even though it's been out for 5 years and like people love talking about this game.
Yeah.
The most I think I ever saw of like the true nature of that game was, and it's like when Elizabeth is like first introduced, so it's not really a big spoiler, but it's when she opens a tear and you see into like 1980s America, and you see the like, movie marquee for like, hey, Back to the Future and Empire Strikes Back is playing.
Yeah.
Also, it's in Paris, and you can hear like, 80s music in the background. That's the most I ever saw of kind of the true nature of this game.
Yeah. So tell me, sorry to cut you off. Tell me what you thought about the story of the game, kind of about what the game kind of says about, I guess, and not really multiverse stuff, but there's just a lot of big, heavy themes in the game, along with the really interesting story of kind of like the I'm my own dad kind of deal or whatever.
I think it's interesting because the way this game is structured is fascinating, because it opens with like the same way that Bioshock 1 kind of opens, and it introduces Columbia and kind of all the big heady stuff that like Rapture did in the original, kind of has all these big ideas that it's trying to communicate through this city, where Rapture was more of a like kind of scientist driven, like down here there's no kings, no government, just us doing what we want to do and pushing science to the limit and stuff like that.
Yeah, a very objectivist. I guess like Ayn Rand is a famous lady, and that's her whole philosophy is like, we don't need government or anyone telling us what to do. Like, let the invisible hand or whatever guide us, and
king or government or religion or anything.
Yeah, get all that out of here, and that everyone should be selfish, and by being selfish, you will do the best for society, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, let the people who are trying to push civilization further do their thing uninterred and stuff. Where this one is kind of, I don't want to say opposite, but is like kind of very different.
Yeah, and almost contradictory to that.
And it even shows that with Rapture being at the bottom of the ocean and Columbia being floating in the sky.
Yeah,
it's very. So the way that like this game kind of opens up with the way, like the culture of Colombia is with, like, hey, there's, all these, pretty well-to-do white people who are the citizens of the city, and then you have all the like kind of service class, other raced people with like, like black people and Irish immigrants and stuff like that, which was kind of, the idea of society in, at the turn of the century.
Yeah.
They're not shy about that. And like the way when you get introduced to Colombia, how you're like baptized into the society, to kind of be indoctrinated into it. And it says a lot about that stuff at the very beginning of the game. You also go through like some of their like amusement parks where you see like a very racially insensitive view of the Battle of Wounded Knee.
Yes.
And how triumphant the people of Colombia were over, these savages.
Mm-hmm.
And it does that a lot at the beginning of the game, but then once it starts really getting into the true nature of the game, like as far as like the, interdimensional shenanigans it gets into, it pretty much stops like concerning itself with the message at the very beginning. Yep. Which, like, I like all the interdimensional shenanigans stuff is great. Don't get me wrong, but I just thought it was interesting the way that I wish they did a little bit more with the stuff that they did, or kind of tied it into the stuff they kind of did at the end. But that kind of muddle with kind of what they wanted to do as far as like overall story and game design and whatnot.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the game, you first go and there's like a choice where you get a baseball and you can throw it at either this like a mixed race couple or at like kind of the really racist guy who's running the whole place.
Right.
And then the kind of the first big boss you have to fight is with Cornelius Slate. And you're going through this museum where it's very, very racist of depictions of Native Americans, depictions of Chinese people, and just how they are displayed in the museum is just horrible. So there's this and it's kind of hard to play through.
Yeah.
And something that I thought was very interesting was there's in that same museum, there's an exhibit that is exalting the assassination of Abraham Lincoln by John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, that part was crazy. I remember going in there just being like, what the hell is this place?
Yeah. So it starts off, and that's kind of the first big area you go through. And then as the game goes on, you go through, there's this kind of a horror section, which is probably my favorite area, where there's all these people who are kind of in between dimensions.
Yes.
And it's kind of like an insane asylum or where they brainwash people.
Yeah, you're talking about after Elizabeth is kidnapped, right?
Yes.
And it's like you're in the future where she becomes like the ultimate vision of horror.
Yeah, that she was trying to not be. So in that moment, that is much more about, interdimensions and like, oh, this is a possible future. I'm going to send you back to a different future and that kind of stuff. And is nowhere near about kind of the racially charged kind of dystopia that Colombia is at the beginning of the game.
Right, yeah. Also, I just love the way the game kind of introduces you to like the city and everything. Because at the very beginning, when you're kind of going through and kind of seeing all the different like cultures of like the town and stuff, one of the things that really stuck out to me at first was I came across there's this little ship and it had a barbershop quartet on it.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they were singing God Only Knows, which is a Beach Boys song on Pet Sounds, which came out in the 60s. But this game takes place in 1912. So I saw that and was like, that's weird. This is a really good cover of God Only Knows, but like this doesn't match up with the timeline. I'm confused. And then of course, as the game goes on, you find out the tears and stuff, and like that's also a good explanation for why Columbia is able to float in the sky, is probably because they used the tears to get visions of future technology and adapted that to the present. And also, if you see some of the posters around town for the music, it says the music of tomorrow today.
Yep.
Because there's also a cover of Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
Yeah.
It's from the 80s.
So did you find when you're in the area, when you're going to Lady Comstock's graveyard, if you kind of walk away, there's this building you can hop into.
Is it the Red Tear? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know what that is. Well, there's some voxophones that explain that Joseph Fink's brother, that he finds all these music through these tears. Because you know where you hear one of the tears when you first meet Elizabeth, right? And she tears open the place to Paris.
Yeah.
There's a guy who hears this music through the tears, who's not Joseph Fink. Is that his name? No, that's the guy. That's
the industrialist.
His name.
Well, there's also
it's Jeremiah Fink. Joseph Fink does Welcome to Night Vale. I kept saying Joseph, and I was like, that's not the right guy. Jeremiah Fink is from the game. Joseph Fink does Welcome to Night Vale. Great podcast. You guys should go listen.
We all love Joseph Fink.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. But Jeremiah Fink's brother hears through the tears and then writes all of the music from those tears. So it explains why you hear those music. I don't know if you ever got to that.
Well, I think, I don't know if I missed that voxophone or not, but there's also a music store where there's like a red tear in the music store. Mm-hmm. And if you go and listen to it, it's just straight up Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Like, it's just a straight up, like, a recording of, like, that band playing that song. So it's just like, oh, that's how this is happening.
Yeah,
kind of.
So the same deal.
Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Even while we sleep, we will find you acting on your best behavior. Turn your back on Mother Nature. Everybody wants to rule the world.
Yeah, so the whole tears and everything are just super interesting throughout the game. And so I want to know your opinion on the very end of the game, right? Where you are Comstock and then they kind of murder you and all that stuff.
Well, I really, really like the way, so, it ends with all the Elizabeths, all the different, timeline dimension Elizabeths drowning you in the pool.
Yep.
And the insinuation at that time is that they've killed Booker / Comstock at the point where he would become Comstock, therefore
all Comstocks.
Yeah, just disrupting the entire Columbia thing and, nipping it in the bud. And I really like the way after it cuts to black and then it shows the title card again, Bioshock Infinite, and it makes a big deal about, like, Infinite.
Yep.
Therefore being like, hey, this game you've been excited about, like, if you played this at the time, hey, this game you've been excited about for, like, the past 3 years because there's been a bunch of delays and you've been seeing all this, hype, marketing about this game and getting really excited. The end of this game has been in the title and been staring you in the face the entire time.
Yeah.
The spoiler for, like, the true nature of this game has been there staring you in the face. And
yep.
That was a great moment to see that.
It's super cool.
Yeah, and then after the title, or after the credits, it has that little scene where you take control of Booker again in his office and you go and open the door to the baby room,
mm-hmm.
and you never see the crib, so you don't know if there's a baby there, but you hear a little, like,
cry,
like it's like a cry or like the sound of, like, a mobile going or something like that.
Oh yeah.
So it's very you can't tell whether or not Elizabeth is there or Anna, I guess, is
mm-hmm.
there, so whether or not the cycle has actually been broken.
Yeah. So yeah, the game story and everything is crazy, and there's just so much more that we don't have time to talk about. I mean, there is so much really interesting stuff in the game, because I would love just to, like, sit and talk about Fitzroy and her and how her and Comstock kind of parallel each other.
Yeah,
and
but,
how,
like, opposite sides of the coin.
Yes.
Or of, like, social ideologies.
Mm-hmm. And Cornelius Slate and, like, his whole deal, or Jeremiah Fink and his industrialist, and how he's kind of trying to brainwash his workers and saying things like, oh, why do I only pay you in Jeremiah bucks? Because I know I'll never take advantage of you. And if I gave you normal money, you could go somewhere else, and then they might take advantage of you. So I'm only going to pay you money that you can spend right here where back to me, because I know I'll give you a fair deal.
Yeah. And obviously that's a, kind of over-the-top characterization of that kind of idea, but that was an actual thing that happened at that time. Was industrialist towns that were just, like, places for the working class to live so they could, for the rest of their life, just be, like, laborers.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just so much cool stuff in here, but we're trying to kind of get through everything.
Yeah.
So tell me some about the gameplay that you liked or that you didn't like. Just kind of that whole idea. We haven't really touched on that very much.
Yeah, so I guess I mostly played it as a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it wasn't until the very end of the game that I started really getting into like how to get the best use out of the vigors.
Yeah.
Because I think I mostly used the shock vigor the most to like stun enemies, especially useful against the mechanized patriots.
Yeah, they're real tough.
Yeah, especially the toughest are the handymen.
Oh, they're so yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, I think towards the end of the game I really started getting to a groove with the murder of crows.
Mm-hmm.
Which you shoot crows out of your hand to like go and stun enemies because they're like all flopping around them and crazy and stuff. But I upgraded that one to the point where every time you kill someone who's under the effect of the murder of crows, it leaves a trap that someone else can
step
wander into and then get murder of crowed. So I just had this huge kind of chain effect of all these guys just getting pecked at by crows. I just go murder them all. That was really fun. Yeah, I thought the way that so the original Bioshock, right?
Yep.
Had the big daddies, and that was kind of a big deal because they would be wandering around on their own accord, and anytime you kind of ran into one, you kind of had to stop and be like, okay, am I prepared to fight this thing? Because this thing can like kill me like it's no big deal unless I'm prepared for it. This game doesn't really have that. I assumed, especially by all the marketing, that the songbirds would be that.
Mm-hmm. But there's only one.
Yeah, there's only one. There's only one songbird. The closest thing you get to is the handymen, which are like these big mechanized, like huge punchy guys.
And also kind of relating with the theme, handymen are mentally handicapped people.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so because there's the whole deal with there's a bunch of Vox phones where a wife of a handyman is being like, hey, they say you're broken. They say, oh, you're not smart anymore, that you're not a human anymore. It's like, but I still love you. God. And so the mentally handicapped people are forced into these big iron suits where they become like half man, half machine to do work that other people can't or shouldn't or what have you. And then there's like, at the very beginning, there's a thing where people are like throwing stuff at a handyman at the carnival.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And so he is
That's right.
Handymen are mentally handicapped people that are forced to do work that way.
Yeah.
Man, what a terrible place.
And but they only show up in like scripted areas.
Yes.
So they'll kind of throw those at you every once in a while. So I thought that part of it was interesting, where I didn't really get these kind of like big roaming threats throughout the game. And in like I was saying about the songbirds, I thought that was going to be the big, like I thought they would at least be like a big boss fight at the end. But then they subvert that by having the last like action sequence of the game be this big shootout on this boat where there's like waves of enemies coming at you in like big ships and blimps in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point you get a instrument,
a little like harmonica type deal or whatever, like the satyrs used to play in like old cartoons and stuff. Yeah, satyrs. Yeah. Whatever, like a hand pipe. Pan flute. There we go. Thank you.
It's like an electronic pan flute that plays tones, kind of third encounters of third kind style, that are able to control or summon the songbird. So you instead of fighting the songbird, you end up looking at like targeting stuff and sending the songbird to go destroy it.
Yeah, murder those things.
Which was cool and satisfying if it worked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was kind of one of the frustrating parts of that sequence was I would look up at a blimp and go, okay, go get it. I press the button. Here we go. And then like by the fourth time I'd press it, it would actually go, okay, here I go, and go and destroy the blimp.
I totally feel that.
Yeah.
I had that same problem.
It would be a cool moment it's understandable. It's the last sequence of the game, and that's like literally the only time that mechanic shows up.
Yep.
Just wish it worked.
Yeah. So I really liked something I really liked about it. The whole sky hooks.
Oh, the sky hooks, yeah.
And so you get this little thing and you're jumping and you're like zooming around the battlefield. So I think this game, where Bioshock, the original, was more of it felt open world, even though it really wasn't. It kind of felt more open where you could go wherever. Where Bioshock Infinite feels a little more kind of like Doom, where you kind of have access to a big area.
It's a lot more linear than the original Bioshock.
And so it lets for really, really interesting and cool set piece moments where, you have like, okay, here's this monorail or this like sky rail stuff, and this is where the enemies show up, and then once you beat them, then they don't really come back. And there's kind of like, here's an encounter, then you go to the next place, and there's an encounter there, and you go to the next place. So I really, really enjoyed the sky rail. I thought it was a really cool mechanic of when like you came to battles where there's a bunch of people and like 2 mechanized patriots and a handyman. I'm like running away on the sky rail, like please.
I really should have used it more during the handyman encounters.
Oh yeah, I used it all the time.
Because it wasn't until like I think the very last handyman encounter where you're like on the boat on the big sky boat. That I was on a sky rail long enough to where the game popped up a tutorial like, oh hey, by the way, the handyman can like electrify the sky rail, so you don't stand on them too long. And I was just like, is that been in here the entire time and I just haven't been handling these encounters the right way? Like, oh well.
Yeah, because that's what I played it on normal my first playthrough, and this playthrough I played it on hard. So the handymans could like 2-shot me. Like they would just destroy me. And so I had to run away a lot more. And because of that, I didn't get that the whole first time that they could shock anything. At least I don't remember that. And this time it was very early where they're like, yeah, the handyman would jump up and like, get off of there, and like would zap the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought the gameplay it's a kind of a nice break from the original Bioshock, which wasn't really cover shooter, but it wasn't as kind of high flying action as Bioshock Infinite seemed to be.
Yeah.
Something else that I thought was really cool, mechanics to story-wise, was Elizabeth, since she sticks with you more or less the whole time, is kind of like Ellie in Last of Us, where she handles herself. You don't have to protect her or anything.
Yeah.
But also, she like helps you out with opening tears that will like create mechanized patriots of your own, or like mosquito little blimp turrets.
I use those a lot.
And she would like help. She'd be like, "Oh hey, you're hurt. Here's health." Or "Oh hey, you're hurt. Here's like salts." Or "Here's some ammo."
Yeah, that was a really good way for the game to kind of keep going, even though there's really not a ton of consequence to death in this game.
Yeah. But also, I just think that because that she's actually very useful in combat, it made me feel like it's kind of an us versus the world type deal. So instead of just being this package that I have to carry around with me, or even in like Last of Us, where Ellie doesn't really do almost anything to like most of the way through the game, that when Elizabeth left or Elizabeth wasn't there or something like that, I felt this huge need of like, oh my goodness, I like miss her. I want her here.
I miss the utilities that she provides me for like, oh hey, I'm about to die. Hopefully Elizabeth will, oh shoot.
Yeah. And so in those moments, in the story moments where specifically you save Elizabeth and you go down after she's been kidnapped and she's like, I'm going to kill Comstock. And you're like, no, don't do that. And she opens up this tear and she's like, are you going to stop me? And there's a tornado and stuff. Because she's actually been useful through the whole game. In moments like that, I'm like, this girl is like way more capable. And I care about her a lot more because she's been helping me and doing stuff instead of just being, that little voice in my ear.
Yeah, that was a really cool moment. I also thought it was a little silly, though, that every time she does give you like, hey, here's some ammo. Hey, here's some health. It's like the exact same recording of like the take that the voice actor did every time, and it was especially a little jarring after a scene. It's like the scene that after she witnesses you like in the first big like shootout, and she's just like, you killed all those people, you monster, and like being like really upset with you, and then right after that scene ended, she went, here's some money. And I was just, I thought you were mad. Okay.
Yeah. That's true. And, I'm willing to suspend some disbelief.
That was just like a weird gameplay thing.
Yeah.
To, game systems thing to happen, but I just thought it was silly.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, that's it. That's all I really got. You got any last words you want to talk about before we get to the ratings?
I would like to play this game again soon. Oh, also, we might do a bonus episode or something, but there's some pretty significant DLC for this game that I think I remember when like the DLC came out and there were like reviews in the 9s for the DLC, which I believe takes place in like an alternate universe where it's like Elizabeth in Rapture.
Yeah, because you go to Rapture in the end sequence of the game where she's like explaining, hey, this is what's going on, this is how the world works. She like goes to Rapture, like there's always a lighthouse, there's always a city, there's always a man. So kind of that Rapture,
the constants of the different universes. There's variables, but the constants are always a man, a city, and a lighthouse.
And so Bioshock, the original, is just another alternate universe of Bioshock Infinite. So the Bioshock universe, they can, as long as they have a city and a man and a lighthouse, they can do whatever they want, really. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so I have not played the DLC, So maybe we'll do that, and we'll have a bonus episode because you're still reading Bakuman.
Yes, I am.
We haven't finished it yet.
On chapter like 140. So yeah, I'm a good like 30, 40-ish chapters away from finishing it. And then we can do a bonus episode for that too.
Yeah, we haven't forgotten.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some ratings. All right, Sir Noah.
Yes.
On a scale from 1 to Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Ooh, that's a good one.
how would you rate Bioshock Infinite?
I would give this a Secret War.
That's good. That was my other option I was going for. I was like, Crisis on Infinite Earths, because I'm reading whatever it's called. Time Runs Out.
Yeah.
I'm reading that right now since we did New Avengers recently.
It's like the after part to New Avengers that leads up to Secret War.
Yeah, so I'm reading that, and I was like, maybe I'll just do Time Runs Out, or maybe I'll just do Secret Wars. Like, no, I think Crisis on Infinite Earths is better. So there we go.
Yeah.
Yay! Yeah. Brad.
Sweet.
So that's all I got. Bioshock Infinite, Secret Wars rating.
Okay.
Right.
Will the circle be unbroken by and by and by? Is a better home awaiting in the sky, in the sky.
So that's it. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So for what we're doing next time, we are going to not have Noah give me something, which we should. We're actually going to have our second guest.
Hey.
Get excited. Get pumped. She is sitting in the
That's me
room.
getting excited.
I'm looking at her right now.
Do you want me to say something?
No, I
Yes,
don't.
I'm
I don't want
talking
you to say
now.
anything. Wait for me to introduce you.
No.
Please.
Wait, please. Please.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys. It's Jordan Curley.
Yes.
She's right
I'm
here.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi.
There you are.
I'm fangirly on the internet.
Yeah, she's the one who
Yeah.
does all of our artist stuff.
Yeah, she does the graphics.
That's the
and
word.
The thumbnails and the YouTube page and our website actually. If you're on
Yes.
Libsyn.
All the little graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all Jordan.
Thanks, babe.
Hooray.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, you're super cool.
So I'm giving y'all what to do,
Yes.
and I was trying to figure it out. I knew it was going to be a cartoon,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be Star versus the Forces of Evil.
Ooh.
Cool. Yes, that is on Disney.
It's
Yeah.
technically on Disney XD,
Okay, well,
which is still Disney, but it's
That's like-
specifically like Toons.
Yeah, it's like what used to be Toon Disney.
was there?
Yeah.
Was there a Toon Disney? I know there were
Yeah.
Nicktoons, but I didn't know there was.
Yeah,
like
it was a Toon
Disney
Disney, and it
Toons.
got changed to Disney XD because Disney Channel really is just like a live action
That was like back when
stuff.
they introduced like television, like cable that had more than 100 channels, and like suddenly everyone had to be producing a lot more content
Yeah.
for those channels. That's when like I think that's when Boomerang showed up,
Yeah,
and that's
Boomerang's cool.
that's when Toon Disney showed up, and Toon Disney, which I think originally was like a channel where they just kind of dumped all their reruns onto, because they were like, we got this channel and we don't have enough content to support it, so like let's like I don't know, just run reruns of like old Disney cartoons from the 80s, like Goof Troop and Gummy Bears and stuff
Okay,
like
I
that.
think I
Yeah.
know what that is now.
That's
think
where I
remember
used to
that.
watch a lot of reruns of the old Winnie the Pooh cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, and Disney XD will have like Pokemon and like
Oh yeah, they have like
random
licenses and
stuff like
now.
that.
I'm pretty
too.
sure they have Yu-Gi-Oh now. It's either them or I think Nicktoons, the channel Nicktoons.
Yeah.
Has Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
Is there still new Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh, absolutely.
coming out?
Oh yeah. No, I think they are currently showing
Kids WB doesn't exist anymore, so those
Right.
Like Saturday morning
animes
cartoons?
have to go somewhere. The
Yeah.
kids anime.
They are currently showing V6 or something like that. V5.
Is it more motorcycle stuff? Because I hope
This
it's
one
more
is,
mo-
yeah. This is the return of the motorcycles, and then the one that's currently airing in Japan is V Reigns, something like that. I think it's just more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. It's not more motorcycles.
Man,
They would, because they did normal Yu-Gi-Oh, GX, motorcycles, then ghosts, then motorcycles again.
wait,
It was
there
like some like The fourth Yu-Gi-Oh series, like there's like some space alien ghost that possesses the main guy, and they have adventures. I don't know.
We're getting distracted.
Yeah. Anyways.
So
no.
Star.
Yeah.
Huh?
The Star versus
Yeah,
the Forces of
Star
Evil.
versus the Forces of
Yeah,
Evil is on Disney XD, and it is 3 seasons long. The 3rd season just ended, and their scheduling for releasing these episodes are really strange.
I mean, it's a cartoon releasing in like the now in 2017, 2018. So that's pretty much every cartoon.
Yeah, because the
Unfortunately.
hiatus between like season 1 and season 2 was like super, super long. And then between 2 and 3 was like pretty short. And what I hear right now on the internet, the rumors, is that the hiatus between 3 and 4 is going to be really long.
Yep.
Cool. Well, could you give us like a brief synopsis or just like the broadest of strokes about what Star vs. Forces of Evil is?
Star is a 14-year-old princess from another dimension being sent to Earth to help her kind of grow up into being a queen. She has magic. She got a magic wand when she turned 14, and she has to learn to be responsible. And yeah, so she's a magical girl learning to be queen.
Yeah. Starts
Cool.
off with like high school kid problems, and then slowly transforms into a fantasy epic, I guess you could say.
Yes, and if
Yeah.
you couldn't tell,
But-
Noah has already seen
Yeah,
it.
I have already seen it.
But because we're dating, he's seen most of everything
Yeah.
that I've seen.
Turns out when you spend most of your time with each other, it's really hard to find stuff that the other hasn't checked out yet. So we just decided to settle with Star Versus.
I haven't seen it.
Well,
Yeah.
horror movies are the only thing that y'all two haven't seen that I have seen, but y'all aren't going to do that.
Yeah, we're babies.
Yeah, I'm a big wet diaper baby.
I'm a baby man.
Big wet diaper baby man.
All right. And on that note, I guess there you go. Star Versus. Watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. You probably can't watch all 3 seasons in 2 weeks, but you can certainly try. I know I'm going to. So it's gonna be rad. It's gonna be awesome. Thank you, Jordan.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. All
Thank
that you do and all that you don't do. You know, like you're not killing us right now. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I could be doing that right now,
You could
but
be.
I'm not.
Yes, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You are a kind lizard overlord. She's not a lizard.
As far as you know.
I don't know. Maybe
For
I
all
You
I
am.
do
know.
like lizards.
For all I know, I could be dating.
I like a
lizard
lot of
overlord.
animals.
Yeah, but
That's
you
true.
also like lizards.
I'm secretly a snake.
All right. Well, that's it.
Brad.
Yeah. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Noah.
Mm-hmm.
We're done. Thanks for listening. This has been Do Check This Out. Star versus the Forces of Evil coming at you in 2 weeks.
Heck yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye bye.
And we're done.
Okay, we're done. All right.
Cool. Thanks.
I wasn't sure if I should.
You could have.
Bye. You definitely should next time
But
on the episode you are in officially. Officially. What?
can I open going hiss? Because I'm a snake.
Sure. When we introduce you, and Jordan Gurley's here.